here is failure to communicate.
We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand.
Have you ever seen Truth or Dare, the Madonna documentary from I think the
90s?
90? Yeah.
Vanilla Ice and shit like that.
Yeah, there's this line because she's dating Warren Beatty at the time, and she's about to get an adjustment from a chiropractor or something, and Warren Beatty doesn't want to be on camera, and she's like, "Oh, you're a pussy," and he's like, and he says something about you don't want to do anything off camera, and she's like, "Yeah, why would I?" And that's kind of my everything should be on camera. That's what social media is for. I want to hear you're going to the bathroom on your Twitter. It's the dumbest shit, so let's make it dumber. Happy almost Thanksgiving. This is going to be our Thanksgiving show, yet it's going to air many moons from now.
Hell yeah. And so what are you munching on for Thanksgiving?
So Lauren Maranero is on her way here, art dealer extraordinaire, and we are making a beef Wellington. And yeah.
Wait, your mic is a little muffled. You might have to turn it down a little.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, much.
I also don't need to hold it. I just watched that show on Netflix with Kristen Bell where she has a podcast, and she did that. So I was like, well, if that's what you do on podcasts, because I don't listen to them.
Well, if we could figure out AV, we can tweak it so you can hold it if you want, but that's way above my knowledge.
What about this? I mean, as I told you, I can barely turn on my phone. You're trying to get me to do this Kalindi thing or Calendula or whatever it's called. I don't know how to say that.
So yeah, I'm stoked for today's show. So you want to introduce before she joins?
Well, I'll have her introduce her, but I can say how I know her is because we did 2 shows together at Half Gallery where I work. So, and by 2 shows, I mean, I organized her shipping and had it photographed. So, she did 1 show with us in New York and 1 show with us in Los Angeles. And then what I think is interesting, I want to hear about, she got the offer of representation from another gallery, Nicodemus, where now she has a show up in New York, and they have spaces in both New York and Los Angeles.
Wow.
So I want to talk to her about, what that means, representation for her. And also her work, she's from Northeastern Pennsylvania, outside of Philly, and her Instagram is Redneck Hot Wife. And she really kind of holds on, I think, I'm going to ask her, but I think we're going to talk about identity politics, that Harper's article, the painted protests, which I sent to her, and her comment was kind of amazing what she said back, but I'll wait until she's on. But she paints these kind of, white trash, sapphic women in rural situations. And so I don't think she paints men at all, but she paints all these women in kind of traditional art historical male poses. And the press release for her current show kind of references Rubens and El Greco. But then she paints she does these kind of still lifes too, of a lot of times dead animals, like deer, or sometimes they're not always dead, but kind of this it's almost like a masculine, hunting kind of thing, like a beheaded, that I think of. I grew up also in Northeastern Pennsylvania. My parents got remarried. So we're from similar parts of the country. And so her painting speaks to me on a personal level, redneck, because I am, poor white trash. Grew up in Pennsylvania, moved to Philly, went to college there. And there was always this joke in Philadelphia about Pennsylvania. They would say, you have Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and in between it's Arkansas. Because it's very rural, Appalachia, families have 2 teeth collectively, kind of. So
the Amish are there.
The Amish are there, and she paints that. I mean, some of the work that, I don't know, in her new show is basically all based on the apocalypse. So we'll hear that, Christianity. And but she certainly painted these women before with, I don't know if they're Mennonite or I'm ignorant. I don't know the difference. Sorry. Amish people don't watch this anyway, so who cares?
Yes.
They can't watch TV, right? I don't think they can watch TV.
I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. We should get an Amish artist on here, actually.
Yo, have you ever seen the painter Grandma Moses?
Yeah, oh my God, I made a painting. I don't know if you can see. I recreated this for my first show. It's a tiny painting of that old woman in a chair. So yeah, I know Grandma Moses well.
So
well,
yeah,
not personally.
Grandma Moses like paints these really rural scenes. She started painting at 85. Got a show in New York, like in the 60s or something, and like lived the last 20 years of her life like with these incredible paintings. And she is just, her works are freaking awesome. I definitely want to cop one day.
Yeah, she's amazing. Also, we have a ton of exciting guests coming up too. I've been, people are emailing or DMing, and then I've just sort of been reaching out to people that I've admired forever. So Richard Tinkler's coming on, Cynthia Dagnall, who I've worked with and I love, and she has some really monumental work up in Los Angeles right now.
I think I follow them both on the gram. So
you do. I saw
names that like really ring bells.
Another exciting person who runs the Marfa Invitational Art Fair, Michael Phelan, is coming on. And that art fair, I got to go one time. We did it. It is the best art fair I've ever been to, worked at. Michael's vision, I think, for the art fair.
It's so fucking on fleek.
Well, so it's invitational, so the galleries are invited, so there's no application. But what made it amazing was, Marfa is like a super remote place. Like, from the East Coast, there's no direct flight. So you have to fly into Dallas and then go to El Paso. And then you have to drive like another 3+ hours to get to Marfa. And so and all the galleries, 10 galleries are invited. This was the year I did it. 10 galleries are invited. You bring your artist, the art handler's there, and then people can buy a ticket for like the weekend. I think it's like $1,000 for the weekend. And there's 3 dinners, Friday, maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And every person there, the art handlers to the collectors, to the dealers, to the artists, they all go and congregate at all these dinners. And that never happens at any art fair, any place ever. And it was just the most kind of democratic like situation where you have, the billionaires buying art and then jerks like me who are, selling wares. And it was amazing. It was so incredible to have that kind of camaraderie amongst all these, different folks in the art world. Wow. And, I'll say this over and over and over again. Like, we should get, I forget that Instagram account, the art handler one. But art handlers, they are the backbone. They make everything possible in this industry. And without them, I mean, from shipping to installing to, fixing, we work with this amazing guy, Matt Gliva. He's incredible. He's way more than just an art handler, but he's stretching paintings all the time, like paintings coming. So every art handlers. And that's why for me, Marfa, the Marfa Invitational Fair, it was the first art event period I've seen them included in at all and really kind of considered. And so I thought that was really incredible. And I think Michael's vision for Marfa as a town is just incredible too. He started this outdoor sculpture park. I think they're going to break ground on like break ground on like a proper building, because the fair has been in a hotel in previous years. So I think they're going to build kind of like an outpost. And because Chinati's there, it makes so much sense to have, kind of contemporary art in that space once a year. I hope it happens more. I would move to Marfa if someone invited me.
Wow. But you get bored real quick though.
I don't know. I've got a vivid imagination. I write novels. We're doing the podcast. I mean, I live at the end of a dirt road on 80 acres. Like, I'm not talking to anybody except my dogs and you. You've become the only person I talk to every day.
That's amazing. I love it.
Oh. What are you having for Thanksgiving? Do you cook? Does your dad cook?
Well, we're going out to eat. My parents both wanted to keep it low key this year, and my mom made some stuffing, and my dad does cook. He just got back from Costco. He was so stoked to go to Costco this morning.
This is like the worst fucking day to go to Costco.
I know. But he was.
I went to this. Oh, go ahead.
He was in and out. He got there early before they opened, and then got a bunch of shit.
I went to one supermarket yesterday. I want to name it and burn it down because I was so angry, but I won't, because then I went to another location. I went to this supermarket as it was 3:00. What's today? Wednesday? It was Tuesday. And I go to the butcher and I say, hey, butcher, sir, I need a 4-pound piece of, beef for my beef Wellington. He said, oh, sorry, all the butchers have gone home. I said, it's 3:00 on a Tuesday, the week of Thanksgiving. And this piece of meat was going to cost me like $150, right? So I had a cart filled with the other groceries and stuff, and I just pushed it and walked out of the store.
Yeah,
I was so pissed that I hate excuses. I'll say this. I don't want excuses. I want solutions. And then he said, well, they get here at 3 a.m. I don't care. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. I need a fucking cut of meat. This is a supermarket and this is a butcher.
Yeah, give me a knife. I'll go cut it myself.
It was Market 32 in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. I was livid. Also, are we doing ads today?
We haven't done them in a while.
I know. It's okay. We'll come back to it. But I want to do an ad for Sniffies.
Oh, hell yeah. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, well, Sniffies, I did not know what it was either until my ex told me that's how he was cheating on me for 9 years and getting blowjobs in rest stops. If you just type in sniffies.com into your browser right now, it's not an app. You'll see all the dicks and penises in and around New Haven. They just pop up. And it's completely anonymous sex. So he was literally, he got a blowjob at a rest stop and told me he had an STI. That's how the whole thing happened. Through this website, Sniffies.
Oh my God.
I'm sure you can go find a glory hole right now. Just put your dick in it. You're never going to see, who knows if it's a man or a woman on the other side. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, baby, but I don't want to get burned.
Artburn. Brought to you by Sniffies.
Feel burned.
Oh, also, should we say, I'm RJ and this is Artburn?
Yeah.
I just said it. I'm RJ and this is Artburn.
And I'm Topper. Great to have
Topper
you
J.
listening. Topper J.
Should we bring in Sam? Is she here? Does she have the link?
I sent her the email to her Gmail.
Okay, I'll text her too. Link in.
So back to Amish country, there is this apparently the nation's biggest buffet, and I'm a glutton who is
I fucking love a buffet.
Yo. Dude, it's in Amish country. We've got to go.
Oh, first of all, we got to start doing remote shit. So we're going to go to Marfa. We're going to go to Miami next year. We should talk about the art fairs a little bit since they are next week. We can talk about Sam with those and just mention them. Mm-hmm. Because Miami Art Basel starts next week. It's the largest art fair in this country. And there's a ton of other, Nada's there, Untitled. I mean, there's a bunch of art fairs. Yes, let's go to the buffet. They're reopening Ponderosa's in Massachusetts. I
heard of it, but I don't really know.
That was my jam as a kid, Ponderosa, because it was across the street from the mall, because they had an all-you-could-eat Sunday bar, too.
Oh, I fuck with that.
But you can't go to a buffet on Ozempic. You'll shit your pants, dude.
No, it doesn't cause you to shit. It causes you to be constipated.
Well, you'll so you're going to go and glutton yourself at a buffet and then have a brick inside of you for the next 2 weeks?
2 months. Yeah, pretty much. I know.
Oh, man.
I think I'll go once I'm off the juice.
Okay.
I'll go once a month.
Are you learning portion control? Is that like the goal here or like?
Yeah, that's a big part of it to kind of get used to smaller portions, but I'm plateauing and I'm already on the fucking elephant dose.
Well, you look great when you just stood up. I mean, you look really good.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
I thought you looked great when we met in Houston also. Like, I think you always look great.
Thank you. No, I'm down 40 pounds since then.
Let me ask you this. Are you supposed to compliment people on weight loss? Because it kind of insinuates that if you look good now, you didn't look good previously, right? I'm always confused about this.
For me, I'm pretty, I'm sensitive about some things, but not that. So it's like, you can never be too rich or too skinny. So I want to fucking get skinny as a twig.
Okay. You're going to be a supermodel like Kate Moss.
Oh, baby, I'll fucking rip Marlboros and fucking, try to get rich.
Champagne and Coke.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, speaking of, I got drunk last night by myself. I don't really drink that much either. And I was so stressed. I had to quit I quit my other job, my little 12-hour week. and they refused to let me quit. And I have now quit about 7 times. And so yesterday I get a call from someone from the select board in these small New England towns. There's not a mayor. There's like a 3-panel select board. And she's trying to convince me to like not quit because there was a town hall meeting. And I was like, I won't say her name, but I was like, I have quit. I quit last week like 3 times. No one is hearing me. And so I was just like, this is so stressful. And it's a long story. I wasn't planning on quitting. So I just had to drink some of my Thanksgiving wine last night by myself. And then I saw I was drunk texting people on Instagram.
Well, I hope they're guests.
No, it was another friend. And I was like, I love that car too.
Oh, fuck yeah. Well, as long as it wasn't people on Sniffies, I don't want you getting any STIs.
No, I'm on PrEP. Thank you very much. So HIV, not for me. I have not.
In gonorrhea and all the other ones.
You can't, but I've had a bucket of sex in these past 2.5 years, like 80 plus people, not a single STI, not even a crab.
Come on.
Not even a crab.
Congratulations.
I don't actually think I'm not. Listen, I might use sniffies, but I'm saying I need to see your face. We need to talk a little bit. I did go to a glory hole once in New York. It was, first of all, I didn't even get hard. It was so bananas to me. It was so confusing. It was also you can buy. I had no idea. This
is wild.
You can buy an actual glory hole trademark door. It's a huge rubber door size thing that you hang over a door. It has a hole for your penis and it had 2 holes for my hands. So I never saw the person on the other side. I put my dick in the hole and then I put my hands through the other 2 holes and just grabbed the head. And
yo, I'm sending you to church to get blessed. That's too crazy.
And then when I walked downstairs to leave, there were 2 guys waiting to go up.
Wait, wow. So tell the whole story. Do you have to pay? What?
No, I was on sniffies.com, thanks to my ex. Shout out to him. We'll never mention his name, though, like Voldemort, he who shall not be named.
Okay.
But we will mention
Was he an artist?
Sniffies. He was. He probably still is, but he's a shit artist.
I was going to say, because we got anyone who's in the art world, I want to have on the show.
Well, not him. He also got represented because of me, but that's a whole other episode. He was a nobody in Western Mass that nobody knew about until he rode my coattails for 9 years. But anyway, Sniffies. So type in sniffies.com right now on your browser.
I don't want to get my dad fucking... All right, here, I'm on my dad's computer. My 85-year-old dad's computer. All right.
Erase the history after. And it'll ask you if you want to use it anonymously or log in. Just click use anonymously.
YS or IES?
sniffies.com.
Okie dokie. Here we go.
It just says use anonymously.
Use anonymously. Oh, this guy's hot.
See, and you just get all the dick. Probably you're near New Haven, so I'm sure you're going to get a ton.
Here we go. Do I meet the age requirements? This is fucking wild. Are you a real cruiser?
Oh yeah, so you have to match the image so they're, Yeah, those pictures they use though, the men on there don't look like that. Those are models.
Look at this. It's a butt plug.
Yeah. Welcome to gay sex.
Oh my God, in heaven on the front. Good cruiser. Allow location. Here we go.
Yeah.
Google Chrome. Sniffies. Oh, yo. No. No. X. Out. No. Yo. Santa Maria.
That's what's great about being gay, though. Sex on demand.
What is? Oh my God! You don't even have to take them out to dinner.
You don't have to, Grindr and Scruff, and these are apps where you have to create a profile and stuff. Here, no profile, just straight up. I mean, I have had many men, they'll be like, oh, Also, Western Mass, people like to have sex outdoors for some reason. I don't know why, but everyone's like inviting me. They're like, come meet me in my car outside of this lake. I was like, dude, I have 5 bedrooms. Like, I'm not fucking you in my 2002. I found out it's a 2004 Buick, and my mechanic calls it a Le Sabre.
No, he does not.
This guy, this amazing guy, Jeff, shout out to Jeff. He comes to my house at the end of a dirt road on it and works on the car. He's replaced like tires. He fixed the automatic window on the passenger side. But he told me, and he found the VIN number. It is 2004, not 2002. I'm on fire because I'm hungover.
Oh my God.
I haven't been hungover in a minute. And let me tell you, when it's this close to 50, it feels like trash.
Oh man. Yeah, the liver can't handle it like it used to.
Especially like if you don't drink. I can't, maybe I had a drink like 2 weeks ago or something with dinner or something like that. But, probably be better if I was drinking every day because then like, it doesn't hurt as much maybe. Yeah. I don't know. That's what I did in my 20s and 30s.
I used to smoke weed like every day from like 8th grade to like age 23 or 24. And I can't smoke weed anymore.
Did you just quit? You just stopped?
Well, if what happened was I had a college roommate who could smoke. I'm a competitive person, as you kind of like guessed.
Well, you've told me about this podcast that we have to win.
Yeah, exactly. So my college roommate smoked so much weed, and I got competitive with him in my mind that I needed to smoke as much fucking pot as him. Well, this sent me into a fucking crazy tailspin to the point that I never need to look at weed anymore in my life because I ingested so much in like a 2-year period with this guy as my roommate. And shout out to him. I think he still smokes. I don't know exactly, but we still speak weekly. But he was a fucking pothead to the highest.
Well, thank God he wasn't on like heroin or something. You felt like you needed to compete with that.
I thank God.
So no, and you don't really drink either. You said sometimes, right?
I dibble-de-dabble, but being on Ozempic also, like, you have no desire.
Did you ever smoke cigarettes?
Yeah, I love smoking cigarettes. I don't smoke cigarettes, but I love them. I also love Zins.
What's that?
Zin.
Oh, that chew stuff?
Yeah. I freaking love that stuff. You don't spit like Copenhagen. So back in my day, there was Skoal of chewing tobacco.
Yeah. We're the same day, by the way. I'm actually more days than you. Back in my day, I'm 6 years older than you, fool.
Okay, fine. Well, back in our day, there was chewing tobacco. But now they've like just extracted just the nicotine, so you don't have to spit. So there's no tobacco.
She says she doesn't see the link. It comes from
topperjl@gmail. I can resend it.
topperjl@gmail.
I said all right. I got a website from. Wait, what's her name?
Samantha Joy Groff. Did you send it to the wrong?
Yeah, I sent it to Samantha Joy Groff at Gmail. 24 minutes ago.
Let me see. Samantha Joy Groff at Gmail. Yeah. She says, ooh. I don't know. We're texting. This is all happening. Look at technology.
It's amazing.
I'm texting Northeastern Pennsylvania while you're in Connecticut and I'm in Massachusetts. This is technology.
It is fantastic.
All right. Let's see. Is she coming? She doesn't know. Ooh. We're still stuck on ooh.
All right. Whatever.
She'll be coming soon.
Yeah,
so are you taking lessons now?
Yeah, I'm almost done.
In Houston?
Yeah.
So you've gone up, you've flown.
I have 50 hours. I have 53 hours.
Wow. You're going to be like John Travolta and Harrison Ford and Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly.
Sully. Is it scary?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
I imagine landing is like scary.
Yo. I mean, once you do it though, it's a feeling that to me is better than sex. Like that, just boom, like just landing, like the smooth, like feeling and the relief is like unbelievable.
Do you go up alone or there's always someone with you?
I haven't done my solo yet, but I have to. I have to take my written test which I haven't been studying enough for. I was studying for it yesterday. I was like, my fucking brain is fried.
And that the written test, you have to know all the dials and all that stuff. Yeah,
exactly. The dials, the radio talk, the weather, the parts of the plane, outdoor, outer parts of the plane, like how to navigate. That's a huge one.
Yeah, that I never understand, like, because there's no roads. Like, I don't know how you get. I mean, I also don't understand how television works, so it's not surprising that I don't understand how a plane gets from like New York to Los Angeles.
No, I mean, it's the navigating, like with the current technology for navigation. They make you learn with maps. So
Sam Joy Groff. Thank God you're here, else we were going to be talking about something else still.
Yeah, for real.
I am so sorry. I was like, what is this fake email? And I was like, oh, I need to click that. And then it's like, use Google Chrome. And I was like, do I have that? So anyways, sorry. It took a while.
Okay, no, I should have given you some context in the email saying, hey, join or something like that, but I didn't. But great to meet you, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
I was like, is Topper somebody from Craigslist? Like, I was like, I better not click that. It's spam. So.
No.
Well, yeah, I may have not even told you Topper's name when I was texting you. I just said, do you want to be on the podcast?
Did
so I take Topper, Sam, Topper.
What's up?
Nice to meet you.
Same.
So we're just going to get right into it with you, if that's cool.
Yes.
So I guess, well, I just read the press release this morning so you have a show up at Nicodemus right now through December 7th.
We needed an introduction. Por favor.
Okay. Well, this is Samantha Joy Groff, a wonderful painter. I said this before. We've worked together twice at Half Gallery. We did 2 shows together. And by that, I said I just shipped and photographed your work. And then recently got represented by Nicodemus Gallery, which is in both New York and Los Angeles. Your current show in New York. Say that again?
And Bucharest. They have a
and Bucharest.
Oh, that's lit.
And your current show is an art forum critics pick, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that is, I mean, that doesn't happen for everyone.
That's
and
right there.
Topper is in New Haven, and Sam is a relatively recent graduate from Yale.
Wow, what a school!
I just missed you, I guess, in New Haven.
Really? What? You were here? I got in last night from Texas.
Oh gosh, I left last year, but I was.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
yeah, I thought you lived.
My family
there.
lives here.
Oh, cool. Okay.
How long is art school? I should know that, but I don't.
2 years, I think, for graduate school.
Yeah,
awesome.
Some programs are 3 years. Depends. Like some, like Bard, it has like a low residency program, so it's like 3 summers. But yeah, 2 to 3 years generally.
Which part of New Haven did you live in?
Oh, I lived in gosh, I don't remember the name of the neighborhood.
West Rock?
East Rock. I lived on Bishop Street.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it was really pretty.
Yeah, East Rock is where all the students live. I get it confused. West Rock, East Rock.
No, you're right. Most people live by the school in Yale, like downtown or on, they call it Dwight. And then I guess more of the teachers and like, I lived with people who didn't go to school. They were just normal working professionals. So,
cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Sam, can you tell us, how did you get represented? Who did they approach you? Did you go there? I know you didn't go there with your portfolio, but I like to say that, like, how did that relationship come about?
I cold emailed and I said, you must do this. No, please don't follow that advice. So I guess it was one of those things where it was offered to me about 2 years ago, actually, when I was still in graduate school, to be represented by them. And I just personally felt that at the time I wasn't ready to be represented. I wanted to, get some time in developing my work. And like I was just graduating school, and like I was coming from outside of the art world, so I didn't really know too much. And then this past year or the year prior, they're like, hey, do you want to do a solo with us in New York City? And I was like, absolutely. But also it's like the stakes feel higher because it's like my second solo in New York City, and it's a big space and it requires like, more work and like kind of more of it's in the district where all the galleries are. So I felt the pressure. And so anyways, about spring of last year, I just approached them. I said, hey, would you still consider representing me, just because it's been now 2 years? And they were actually kind of cutting back on the amount of artists they were representing. So I was like, did I miss the boat? But no, they're like, no, we'd love to represent you. So that's kind of how it happened. But yeah.
Wow.
Well, when you said they were cutting back, was that kind of like a financial decision for them, or do you know, like they just didn't want that? Because representing artists is a big deal. It's a lot of work. That means they're kind of responsible for managing your career.
Yes. I don't know the ins. I definitely don't think it was financial. It was more so that they were really wanting to, like when I used to work at an art agency and I represented illustrators. So I kind of know that side of it, where you can't give your attention to every single person. Like I was one of 5 or 6 agents representing 200 artists. So like I had a group set of, set of them, but I've learned that it's very hard to, give everyone equal time and like try to help develop them and stuff. So from my understanding, it was more so just like they really liked the artists that they had and they wanted to put in the effort of keeping those artists, just kind of like developing them and stuff. So I just wasn't sure, because we hadn't talked about it, like, oh, is this still on the table? So it worked out fine though.
So when you got approached by them, that was very interesting and unique of you to say you weren't ready. Because like we've spoken with other artists that like want to get out there and freaking get signed, like before they even put their paint on the freaking canvas. So like what? I won't name one, but RJ knows what I'm talking about. So tell us like your thought process.
Well, first of all, what a privileged position am I in to be like, I think I'll wait. So I want to recognize that first. Let's be honest, I was doing a lot of showing at the time they asked me. Like I was getting a lot of different galleries, and like for example, me and RJ worked together with Half. Like I was working with multiple galleries, so I was like, and I came from a business background, so I was like, I guess I was just more understanding that. Say it again.
What specifically were you thinking about in caution to break down for artists like or potential collectors, or like what your thought process was, or what the potential pitfalls of doing it were?
Yeah, so I knew representation is absolutely like a way to safeguard yourself and like, get you to the next level. I knew that, but I also wanted to make sure that like I had a good working relationship with the gallery that was going to represent me. And I wanted to make sure that I guess when showing with other galleries, I saw my relationship with them, how they approached me, how they did their business, and if it aligned with my goals. So I guess
so what does that mean specifically? So just their vibe, your vibe attracts your tribe, or like it means like
like I said, I come from I come from the business world for before I was an artist.
Give us the freaking P's and Q's.
Yeah, so we would like, for example, is this gallery offering you a contract? What did their contracts look like? Is this gallery picking up your work? Is this gallery making you drive your work to the gallery? You would think that galleries wouldn't do that, but some galleries literally are just like, it's on you. So it's how they treat you and your stuff. And I think for me, and I know this is really simple, but are they willing to come to a studio visit for you? Or do they just see the monetary value of your work and just don't bother coming to your studio. Like, I trust you. I like someone who's willing to come into my studio and talk to me about my work, even if at the end of the day the goal is to sell the work. So these were some things that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And
Would
you know,
they
now
ever
that
say?
go ahead.
Sorry, so I'm very enthused about this.
Yeah.
So would they ever like say, "Hey, use a little bit less of this blue because you're not going to sell it right now," or like, you know, would they ever critique from a kind of market perspective, or is like the art world too hoity-toity for that?
No, some dealers do that for sure.
You know, honestly, this sounds terrible, but I wish more people did that for me. And I've asked for it since now.
Whoa,
Because
see? All right.
you know, again, because like I think when I came into the market, this was before the like recession that we're in now. You know, things would sell regardless of if it was good or my best work or not. And that
Right.
sets you up for this assumption that your work's always going to sell regardless of what you produce. And so recently I was like, can I get some feedback from, you know, multiple people, multiple dealers, artists I know, like, what do you think of this work? What do you think I should be doing differently? And I did get that feedback because I wanted it, because ultimately I'm in my studio 8 hours a day, sometimes 10 hours, like with no feedback and no collaboration. So I think everyone benefits from hearing outside opinion, whether you take it or not. And that's what grad school is really good for too, if people are looking into that.
And because we should say you live not in New York or Los Angeles, you live outside of Philly, right? In northeastern Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
So I don't know exactly where you live, but I lived in Philly for 10 years. I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania. So it's not like there's like artists coming out of the woodwork there, right? And once you leave the academy school, you're just kind of left on your own.
Yeah. And I don't recommend it for everyone. I think that I lived in New York City for 8 years, so I got to experience. I was never an artist in New York City, but I was in the creative scene, and I went to a design school. So I got to be surrounded by the arts, and then I went to a grad program that is connected. So I feel like I got to make those. I got to meet the people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. So now that I live in, outside of Philadelphia, it is very isolated in that sense. But the beauty is that also, like, because I had already made that network when I left, even if it's like an online, like, hey, I'm sending you pictures, what do you think? Like, there are people who will come to my studio or they'll talk to me like online about the feedback that I'm looking for. But yeah, it's a small world out here.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit more about your progression? Because you were speaking about, you know, your time before Yale. Like, this sounds like a unique journey. So would you mind kind of elaborating on that?
What was the decision to go to grad school if you were in business? And to follow up on top, like, were you an outsider at Yale, at this prestigious sort of, you know, nose up in the air institution? Did you feel... Did redneck hot wife fit into Yale?
I mean, it was so funny because I felt very fish out of water when I first went there, but my teachers were like, you know what, you're here now, so you're part of the ivory tower. And I think that put it in for perspective for me. Like, when you leave your
Skull and
community,
Bones?
no, they never
was
asked
there initiation?
No, they never asked me. I like tried to drop hints, like I would be great for this. I literally took a class in foreign policy with a man who was a former CIA agent. I was like, I could be an asset, and they didn't want me. So
wait, you really could be a spy right now. We would have no idea because you're so good at being a spy.
No, I'm on the list that they're watching. I am not the spy. I'm the enemy. No, so back to my story. Yes, it's very non-traditional, I would say. I always loved being an artist. When I went to a public school. I got a lot of encouragement to do it. Not everyone gets that. Like, I I had a great public arts program at my school, which is kind of rare, but mine was really good. And I
Did you
took,
grow up outside of Philly also?
yeah, I grew up in the rural part of like northeastern Pennsylvania, so about like an hour and a half northwest of the city. So enough where there's still access, but it was still like a farming community that since then now has kind of exploded into something else. But
What's the name of the town? Will you say it?
Franconia, or like
Okay.
Souderton was where I went to high school. So it was like a Mennonite farming community. And then they built, like when my dad grew up, there's like literally one main street and then all farms. And my dad grew up working on a farm. And then they made a turnpike exit to our town. So then it was more accessible for people living in the city. And then people like my
Wow.
mom's parents moved to the area because they started building housing. And then now a bunch of these pharmaceutical companies have built campuses, like Merck built a huge campus on farmland and then brought in all this like money to the area. So it's very strange because it's like the drugs that like decimated the people who grew up there are now like what they're like producing and like bringing the money in. It's a very bizarre kind of, so it's not as rural.
Well, you talk about this a little bit in your show with the fentanyl Jesus painting. Is that what it's called? Fentanyl?
Yeah, fentanyl and Jesus, or fentanyl. Yeah. Let me get back to just your quick question of how I got there, though. I just wanted to quickly dispel some of that. So anyways, public school, then I wanted to study art in college, but my parents, as someone, I'm the second person in my family to go to college. So they were like, you know, you need to get a job. And my older brother studied finance. So like, of course, like an art degree was so frivolous. So my mom was like, you should study design. And she had like the wherewithal to like, you know, she found Parsons, and I wanted to, you know, study art, but I was like, I do want to make a living. So I decided to go to Parsons, and New York was really, truly like such a shocking, like out of body, like going from where I'm from and then being poor in New York, going to one of the wealthiest international colleges in New York. It was like a big, so I let's just say I cut my teeth in college because I was like working full time and going to college full time, and
Learning how to
by the
hustle.
time, yeah, I was hustling and it was fine. And then I was a waitress for a long time, and then I got an awesome job working in publishing with artists who make kids books. So it was like an amazing job because like I worked with art, but I was still like a corporate girly, and like I had healthcare, and it really like it really
What years were now? What years were this? Was this?
this was from like 2016 to 2021 is when I had my corporate job like that.
Not that long ago.
Yeah, not that long ago. And actually, right before I went to grad school, I was trying to get this big Silicon Valley project manager job that I was like the final candidate for. And actually, thankfully, they didn't go for me. So, you know, like I was more, but what I did glean from that opportunity is so much of how to handle myself in a business sense, how to have the confidence, but also in the art sense, like what does this contract look like, and what's expected of the artist, and how do I advocate for the artist, which then became myself. How do I market this? I really learned small things like, you know, not every artist is going to be every gallery's cup of tea, and like where do you fit into somebody else's program? I saw that in my agency job where like certain kids books were looking for certain styles, and like how do you tailor your style to, you know, like what you're looking, you know. So I learned a lot of that stuff. So anyways, grad school, my best friend went to Carnegie Mellon to get her degree, and she was like, you should really go. And I'm like, nah, that's not for me. Like I would paint on the side.
She got an art degree?
Yeah, she got her master's from Carnegie Mellon, and she was the one who really encouraged me to go to graduate school. And I was like, I can't afford it. I don't know why I would go. And she and I both working class. She's from Miami, so she and I we worked together and went to undergrad together. So she was like, you should really do this. So I randomly I said, I don't even have enough paintings to apply to a painting program. She's like, Yale doesn't necessarily need you to paint. Like you can show your costumes, you can show your film. So when I
Come on.
applied,
Wow.
so I showed some films that I made, some costumes I made, and some paintings I made. And so then I got in only because the only year that Yale has ever allowed people to defer their acceptance, enough people deferred their painting program acceptance that I was on the wait list. And like 2 weeks before school started, they were like, hey, do you want to come to Yale? And I was like,
Because
I was
of
gonna
COVID?
yeah, because of COVID. It was 2020.
So you were waitlisted, and
Yes.
then enough people decided not to go because of COVID, and you got in.
Yes.
I mean, that is amazing.
know.
It's fake.
I was
Wonderful.
actually getting on a plane that day to go to San Francisco because I wanted to move there. So I was like, let me look at apartments. Like I had some job leads. So the other nice part was I did get accepted to Virginia Commonwealth, VCU. They have a wonderful program. They pay you to go there, and they pay your second year. You get to be a teacher, and then they pay you a handsome salary to teach.
Yale.
And so I actually had deferred that program and then found out. So yeah, it all worked out in the end. But I kept my.
And had you gone to VCU though, I mean, maybe you would have had a different career in the art world, probably along the lines of more teaching and stuff, right? Because I mean, Yale is one of those colleges that I know we go to see the thesis shows. You know, it's pretty easy to get to there from New York. And VCU, I don't know that anybody would visit that. No offense to VCU. It's a great school.
No, I'm just saying simply that, like, you know, they try to attract you with those things. And of course, once I got into Yale, we all know the weight that it carries, whether people like
Did you get
For sure.
Did you get a full ride at Yale, or what was that? What happened with the finances?
So I want to be clear, like, to everyone, that Yale doesn't do merit-based scholarships, but they do need-based scholarships, and I think a lot of people don't know that. And like some girlfriends of mine who were applying college, like, only fully funded. And I'm like, well, depending on how much money your parents make, this could be fully funded. So once you get into Yale, you submit your finances, and then you submit your parents' finances, which work to my advantage. And then they give you funding based on that. And for me, it was fully funded. So
that's awesome.
Congratulations. That is.
But for some people, it could be a little frustrating because on the flip side, you could be 40 years old and your parents they might own a home. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be not so great in terms of funding. And then you're like, I'm estranged from my parents. How's that fair? Like, I get that as well.
I mean, literally, that was my story. I went to grad school when I was 42 or 43. I have no relationship with my parents. I had to fight with the financial. I said, I'm a fully formed adult. I don't talk to my parents, and they're not. So, you know.
I had that problem in undergrad where I was like, hey, I've been paying taxes since I was 16. Like, why do you need to know how much money my parents make? Like, I need more finance. I can barely afford to live in New York City. Like, and they're like, unless you were born before the year 1991, we still require this. So, you know, for everyone, it's different.
Yeah.
But in this case,
I mean, academia needs an enema. I mean, it's such an outdated, no one should pay for college in this country. I think we're the richest country in the world. Let's talk about your family, because you keep on bringing it up. And the first time I met you actually was in Miami. And you brought 10 members of your family down or something? You had a piece with us in Stiltsville.
15.
And 15 family members came to Miami with Sam and took a boat to the middle of the ocean to see one painting in a group presentation. Can you talk about your relationship to your family and art? And, you know, you're in Pennsylvania where you grew up. You paint these kind of Pennsylvania scenes with Mennonite people. So Mennonite people with Mennonites. What's the relationship there? And how does your family and your relationship to family fuel your creative process? Or does it?
Yeah. None of my Mennonite family, well, I don't think my dad even got to come to that. Yeah, none of my Mennonite family came to Stiltsville. That was all my mom's side of the family. I have a huge family, so it was 2 of my aunts and like 5 or 6 of my cousins, and then 2 of my friends, and then their boyfriends. So, and we
So
still
you
talk
have
about.
Mennonite family now.
Yes. They just nobody came to Stiltsville. That was
And
Mennonite.
what's the difference between Mennonite and Amish?
That's a great question. So, historically, they're both Anabaptist, which means they believe in adult baptism, not baptizing a baby like the Catholics do.
RJ
And
and I can use that.
say it again.
Both left, Scott.
RJ and I
Oh,
could
wow.
use an adult baptism.
Yes. Well, I know a guy. If you want to come down to the creek,
Sign us
Not
up.
kidding. We could do
I know.
it.
Neither am I.
So, yeah. So historically, they come from the same Anabaptist type Christianity. They're either Swiss or German, and sorry, my cats are going crazy. And the Germans are called Pennsylvania Dutch because they thought when they said they're Deutsch in America, people are like, "Oh, you're Dutch," and they're like, "No, that means
Right.
yeah." So, anyways,
German.
but then the Amish split off from the Mennonites because they didn't think that they were conservative enough in their values. So the Amish have taken like an even more strict approach. And then there are many subsets of Amish. And then there's like the Hutterites. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. There are like a lot of different branches within. And the Mennonites, or at least it depends on what church you're in. Like, for example, my uncle's family is Beachy Mennonite, which are a lot more conservative, and they live among the Amish, but they are not Amish. And they have some technology like cell phone and some computerized like machinery, but then they still dress plain, and they kind of like they don't have television, they don't have radio or music, they don't have the internet unless it's for like certain teaching things. And then there's like Mennonite, the way I was raised, and then it was like a lot more relaxed and more of just like similar to Lutheran, just like pacifist and kind of like there's tenets of it.
Not dictating your technology or your clothing or anything like that.
No, I mean, when I was growing up, the women dressed a lot like my aunts and my grandmother covered their hair at church, and like there was a lot more of a conservativeness like within just the community. But I would say in the last 20 years, things have gotten like a lot with the onset of the internet. Like I feel like things are creeping in, and the old ways
Hell
are
in a
dying.
handbasket, if you will.
Yeah, the old ways are dying with the old people, and the newer set of people are a lot more just open to the world and all its worldliness. And so so my relationship to that is simply like it was something I was really interested in when I was in college, and I was making more like film and fashion. And then when I started painting, I was like, isn't this such a strange thing that I have been like on the edge of? Like I've never been a true insider, but I'm not an outsider to it. And it's less about like, the conservative values that they have, and more so about I was always interested in the idea of that, like they're very suspicious of the world and new things. And they like to consider new technology, new ideas. Like they're very, as a community, they decide on which things are let in, and kind of like it's just an interesting way to approach things instead of so quickly adapting to all these like new things that keep getting thrown at us. It's like, oh, like considering it and holding it, and like, is this a value that we agree with, or does this work with us? And I don't know. So
Wow. Yeah.
It sounds like making a painting, to consider it, to hold it, to figure out what next brush stroke you make or not.
yeah, and it's also just like taking in consideration new things with the old, but also like shutting out some things that like in a painting, like if this isn't relevant to you, I don't know. So then like I've painted my family, and I've painted actually people who aren't Mennonite but on the like who grew up in our town or girlfriends of mine who are like aware, you know, it's like, it's much more, you don't have to be Mennonite. It's also Pennsylvania Dutch has a very specific way that they look at the world. So
Do you only paint women?
this is a great question.
Thank you.
I am interested in the female form. Some of my models are trans or non-binary. So technically, I do not only paint women, but in my world, everyone is a female form in some way or not. So far,
They
you know,
become women in the paintings, women,
or,
you know, whatever that means.
you know, they're posing for me. Therefore, I'm interested in the femininity of their body. Not everyone identifies as a woman that I have painted. So I want to make that clear because
Got
like
it.
I really respect them and I you know, how that lands, but I have to always remind myself that like my paintings are about the feminine body, being female, and that's what I'm interested in painting. However, recently my family, they're like, when are you going to start painting men? So I'm curious, but the times that I've painted men, they've always looked like women anyway, so I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure.
What does your family think about the subject? I mean, they're kind of like sapphic in tone, right? It's like women like holding each other romantically. I mean, they're very intimate portraits of women, female forms, and they certainly do more than hint at lesbianism or same-sex relationships or something like that. So tell us about your intention in that, and I am curious about like your family's reaction to the subject matter and the way that you paint. Oh, they're also like people in, you know, it's not like they're, I mean, you do paint sort of Mennonite women sometimes with, you know, bonnets, and but you also paint a lot of women in like negligees or, you know, cut off denim shirts and shorts and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know, with my more religious family, to be honest, we don't really talk about my artwork because like I think that in some ways that I have, like even with the Redneck Hot Wife, like I've separated my private self from my artwork self because it's incredibly difficult to be this vulnerable about stuff. And also like, you know, I still value my relationship with them and it's not trying to be, you know, I see it as a job. And, you know, if they want to ask me about my artwork, they know where to find it online. I haven't had too much with my religious family, like talking about it, other than it was really cool when I did some paintings of my cousins who cover their hair. They don't wear a bonnet, but they wear like this like kind of like silk scarfy thing over their hair. And when I talked to them about it, they were more, it was super cool because those paintings were sisters. So it was like family portraits and they had their little attitudes because they're like 18, they're like girls just about to be women. And there's, you know, that edge, like that angst. So I was able to capture that. I was really happy that I did. But when I was posing them, they actually, in their community, they like to photograph people for their engagement photos and weddings. And that's their creative thing that they do. And they were laughing because I was so bossy with them about like posing them the way I wanted. And they were like, wow, like you should do this with our engagement photos because it was like a style of maybe assertiveness that I was like, oh no, you do this and you do that. And like, can I touch you here? And like, I'm like, you know, posing them like my Barbies. And they were able to be like, hey, we want to do this with our photography, with our engagement photos. Cause like, we have a vision for what we want out of the photos. I was like, yeah, like just ask people because they can't see what you see. So you gotta, so anyways, so yeah, other than them and then my other family, yeah, I mean, nobody really confronts me or talks to me about the sapphic over or undertones, but
Do you
I don't
think
know.
that any sort of
Say it again.
you think that any sort of like repression, sexual repression of that religion, like brings out certain sexuality in your works?
You know, I wouldn't say in any obvious way because of I was not raised so strictly. I didn't have the amount of tight religious oppression or like repression of certain things as other people did. But and I went to public school, so it's not like I didn't see anything that other people didn't see. I think it's more so that I like the idea of a set of constraints that are put on whatever I'm doing, like a box. These aren't nudes, and yet people will talk to me about my nude paintings. Like there's you fill in the blanks. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, and this is my own thing. It's like I don't even see them as what other people are seeing them. Like I don't think about those things, I guess, so overtly. So if you're reading that, I can't tell you shouldn't read that. It's just more so that like I'm just very hyper focused on like how do I get two bodies like super intertwined into a knot, and it's almost like more of a dynamic of me as the author of this and the poser of the bodies rather than like a intimate feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Well, I have so many questions, but do you always use live models?
Well, I mean,
I did not know that.
Oh, sorry, I photographed them. But yes, like every single painting you see was me out there. We're in it. We're out there. If you see water, we're in the water. If it's sometimes you don't even
The
know
deer heads.
Yes, I have.
That's like a deer head.
I have plenty of taxidermy in my car. I got ducks. I got deer. I also have like plastic like hunting deers. And
decoys.
Yes, I have decoys. The animals sometimes I will fake for the sake of I can't get them. But I have worked with live animals, sure. But yeah, so for me, like my new show, I have a lot of women bent all the way back, like in crazy catching their ankle poses. And I worked with local contortionists in my area that there's a circus school in Philadelphia. So there's all these chicks who study contortion. I was like, hey, do you want to work with me? And I was like, do you mind if you get in this weird water that's like has a bunch of mosquitoes and your hair is going to be in it? And they're like, let's do it. So yeah.
That's like a real old school way of painting too, like live models. And that's impressive. I had no idea. That's amazing. I'm
not that good at painting to invent those things. I need to see
But I mean, lots of people just go on the internet though and would type in like women intertwined, right? Or like women bending backwards. But you kind of go, I mean, you're recruiting contortionists from a circus school. That is incredible to me.
And they're still Pennsylvania girlies. Like they still relate to the message because, and they bring their own stuff. Like, and that's the beauty of having live models is there are so many things, so many possibilities you don't see. And so we get out there and, for example, I have two people coming and then I find out the one is 5 foot tall and the other one's 5'10". And they're both amazing, but then the pose looks comical because of the height difference. And so then, I have to, my most recent set of paintings, I've worked with more, like 4 or 5 people and had multiple people do the pose for me in different sets of pairings to see which people, because when you have live models, you also get the dynamic and emotion of these people interacting with each other. So sometimes people are really comfortable and familiar with each other and they're able to push the pose farther. And so, yeah, that's why I love doing it.
I'm just looking at your painting that's in the show note, Casting Out Demons, Direct Contact, which is like a stunner of a painting. We'll put the image up if you can send me some images after. But
that's
I mean, that's incredible. That is.
Well,
I'm overwhelmed because I'm so happy we're having this conversation because I don't know, that seems so cool to me that you are using live models, posing them, and making composites out of different live models to get the image. To me, that seems like you have a clear vision in your head of exactly what you want, and you're going to contort and do whatever with whomever to get that vision. I mean,
Yes.
that is like,
I mean, I'm obsessive. I think that most people could make it work other ways. And there are very talented artists who can look at a Google image and create what they want. I'm obsessive. I am also obsessed with looking at people's faces. So I want fresh face. Like I want to see your face at this angle at this particular time. And for example, that painting, that model is a new friend of mine, Scout, and her teeth actually look like that. And when I met her, I'm like, who is this
wow.
gorgeous girl? And what are these teeth? I'm obsessed. And when I first met her, we're actually roller skating. I was like, would you ever pose for me? I know that's a little awkward. Like, I just love your teeth. And she was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So it brought an element of, if you look at a lot of my work, there's like broken fingers or like weird bodily contortions, and messed up teeth are just another strange variety of intrigue to me. So I was like, I'm really intrigued by this. And she was
And
really
of
cool.
beauty too, right? Like it's
Beauty, yeah.
beautiful because it's not like the same fucking Hollywood veneers we're looking at all the
Oh
time
God,
of like, you
no.
know, are
And
those your hands in that painting?
you're good. Yeah, those were my hands because I had a model cancel on
I
me.
see your fingernails here. And I've
Um,
seen your fingernails in person.
yeah. Well, for that particular one, it wasn't supposed to be me. Somebody failed. And actually my mom helped me take that photo. So really it's awesome to have so many people down to do whatever you need to get done. Cause she was like, yeah, I'll help. And my mom helped me with that
I
one.
mean, that is like a banger of a painting. I can't stop staring at it. I
Thank
wish I could have
you.
it. It's like so incredible.
And I
Let
really,
me talk about this show a little bit because
yeah,
I read the press release, and I don't know the woman who wrote it, Francesca Atten. Is that how
Anton.
you say it?
Yeah,
A-T
I'm not sure.
Anton.
Yeah, she's
Did you
awesome.
did you choose her or the gallery provided her?
So I met her via, I was chosen like so graciously this year to be Art in America's like one of their top 20 new talent. And she
And what
was,
is that?
Yeah,
she's
let's talk about that.
yeah, there's a publication called Art in America, the oldest, I think, art publication in America. And they do every year like a new talent issue in the fall of like 20 new promising artists or whatever. And they chose me. So she was the how would I say? I guess I don't know if she was assigned to me or if she chose to be the interviewee for, and she wrote a piece on my work, and it came out, and so many people who were not artists, friends, family, professional, random people were like, that was such a good article. I felt like I understood your work so much better. So she didn't have the art speak mystifying bullshittery that tends to come with the language. So I thought that if she was
She
a
brought
job
it down to
artist,
earth.
she brought it down to earth, and she was really concise with what she was saying. And it struck people enough that I had multiple people just say, wow, what an excellent written piece. So for this press release, I was like, wow, I'm really going off the deep end. I need someone to ground it in um, precision and thoughtful writing, not just like kind of generic or art speaky stuff. So yeah, I chose her, and she's actually grew up in even more North Pennsylvania than I, and so we had that connection too. So she understood growing up in rural PA what that feels like. So I felt like that helped.
And when you say you were going off the deep end, was that with the subject matter in the paintings? Because it's all about the end of the world. It's an apocalypse, right? It's like,
Yes, and I'm referencing a very contentious biblical text that is always without it just ruffles people's feathers. So, and that's why I wanted to use it, because I did feel that like when there's something very negative happening in the world, wherever in the world, people, it doesn't matter what time of what era we're in, people tend to use the book of Revelation as like the prophecy that this is actually, like, they look to it and they're like, this is that part and this is happening and this is we're getting closer. You know what I'm saying? So I
Is
heard
there
a
a
lot of,
specific line? Like what are we talking about in the book of Revelation? And you want to recite it for us?
no, first, not everyone considers it because it's such a crazy text. It's like um, a prophetic text, and it's not in line with all the Bible, so not everyone considers it like part of it. But a lot of the times
It's
when
in the
there's
New Testament. Break it down for us, undoctrinated.
that's really fine. I'm not doctrinated. I'm just curious.
No,
So there
I am.
are.
I'm just joking
Yes.
around.
So the book of Revelation is
Mhm.
apocrypha, I believe is the way to say it. So it's a book that some people use, some people don't. Actually don't know what testament it's in. That's how uneducated.
It's the last chapter in the New Testament.
Thank you. Yes.
I mean, in the Catholic Bible, because I grew up Catholic
Yes.
with my mother telling me the apocalypse was happening all the time. I mean, don't
that's
take
the thing.
666 on your arm is what.
So there is.
And I like Alex Jones.
Yeah, I bet Alex. If Alex could sell you some Book of Revelation supplements, he would. So
Okay.
I smiled.
so basically, like anything related to global conflict, when there are wars happening between countries in conflict, the Middle East is always a hotbed for the Book of Revelation because it's like there's just a lot of global conflict in this text, and then they're like, it's going to usher in all these very bad things, and there's these four horses of the apocalypse. So it's all this like really interesting imagery that also, for example, like there's a lot of other art historical, like El Greco, for example, does a Book of Revelation painting. And then there's, of course, like the four horses you can see in like Renaissance paintings. And it's like this crazy war, and like it's like pestilence and all these like bad things basically like descends upon the world, and we're in apocalypse. But the reason that it keeps coming up is because at the end of it, if you survive, if you're one of the people deemed worthy of surviving, the second coming of Christ will happen at the end of it. So there's this not bizarre. It is, what interested me is that there is a desire for the apocalypse to happen in order for, if you believe in this faith, an ushering in of the second coming of Christ. So it's almost like you want these things to happen in order for this glorious moment to happen. However, like RJ said, some Christian people almost become doomsday. Like anytime something bad is happening, you kind of correlate it to this text. But even back in... Go ahead.
David Koresh in Texas in the early 90s was a
Waco.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And he was like he wanted gunfire, right? Because he wanted to be...
Yeah. And he was the second coming or something like that.
Yes, he believed he was the second coming. That's not really quite how it goes in the book, but the nice, not the nice part, the perfect example of how you can interpret something into whatever way it works in your reality. So to him, perhaps all the things happened that needed to happen to usher him in as the second coming of Christ. So anyways, all that to say, I was studying that, but also I was looking at exorcisms, because I know people who perform modern day exorcisms that aren't Catholics. And I was under the impression only Catholic people and the church could be administrators of exorcism. And I learned that this is not the case. So then I was like, okay, who are these backwoods random people performing exorcisms, and like, what does that look like? And what does this ritual look like? And that's why a lot of the contorted women are, because part of being allegedly possessed by a demon is you're having bodily contortions. And so I was like, well, this is a classic way to visualize that.
Yeah.
But also the poses, I mean, that makes a ton of sense, and you're the author, so that, but they have this kind of like sexual ecstaticism to it, like religious and sexual kind of like that marriage. They could be, they could be possessed, or they could be having an orgasm. Like all the poses are kind of, to me, they read as both very religious and incredibly sexual at the same time.
Yes, and I think that, I took a class when I was at Yale on ecstasy and specifically in different religions. So not, Dionysian ecstasy, they go into the woods, drink wine, have an orgy, and that's how they got to God. And I love that idea of like in the same way. Yeah, right? Like, and then,
I'll get to God that way.
Yeah, there's the Song of Songs. There's like the whirling dervish. There's people who hold snakes, and that's like incredibly dangerous. And it's like, so there's a lot of different ways of the Native Americans, and then also like people love this now, but the shamans and the ayahuasca, and that's like an ecstatic way to find God. So I guess my desire through painting, of course, is direct contact, but or trying to evoke a divinity or an ecstasy. But yeah, I wanted these to ride the line between, is this girl having an orgasm? Is this girl overdosing on heroin? Is this girl possessed by a demon? Like, we don't know.
Well, I mean, they really succeed in that for me. I mean, at looking at them before I did read the press release, but it doesn't kind of, it was interesting. Why I brought up, you don't need it, I don't think. But why I brought up the press release is because she does mention El Greco, Rubens, and there's one other like male painter. And I thought that was interesting that you're a female painter painting female forms. And I immediately thought of Artemisia Gentileschi and that Judith beheading Holofernes.
Oh, right.
Another kind of like religious, ecstatic, like painting. Anyway, I'm just curious, does she figure into your practice at all, Artemisia? Because your work,
yeah,
there's a through line there.
In that press release, those were people that I wanted mentioned in the press release, because I was like, I am not crazy. I am not the first person to do this. I'm not a religious nut. Like there is an art historical tradition, and they just happen to be all men who are, and these paintings are so beautiful, but also so masculine in the sense of like they're showing angels and demons and these wars and like dying and death, and like they're like these super elaborate, amazing, like I can't paint like that, but you know what I'm saying, like apocalyptic war scenes with men on horses and suffering. And then I was like, what happens when you take those same feelings and apply it to the constraint in my life, which would be like this rural backwoods thing, and you get rid of, what if the actual apocalypse or this actual end of world feeling happens in the silence of the woods, and it is just as frightening, except for you're not surrounded by people fighting on horses, you're by yourself, or you're like feeling absolutely out of your brain in the middle, like I just wanted to put it in my own sense. But yeah, and to your point about that painting, like that's a very both seductive and grotesque painting, cutting someone's head off. And the lighting is so like, of the time, Caravaggio, like very dramatic light. I love a dramatic lighting situation. But yeah.
Well, that red painting again is like, I mean, that is dramatic lighting that you created in that painting.
It kind of sits with you in a different way. And I think I myself am negotiating how much grotesque or how much of like the hot dog you see being made, so to speak, like how much violence do you want to see in the work, or how much like grotesqueness, like, just like different, like does there need to be blood? Can it just be bodies entangled? That painting, is important and stood the test of time, so clearly it worked out for them. But
you do have a little bit of blood in one of them, like an ear is bleeding or something, right?
Yeah, and I've done bloodier paintings. Like I've done paintings where people's like wrists are slit or whatever. But not
Right.
to be the it's almost an afterthought, like it's not something that's trying to be highlighted. It's just kind of part of the discomfort of the work.
I have a few more questions. We're kind of running out of time, but you mentioned being vulnerable, and you mentioned the separation between your sort of public persona, this redneck hot wife, which we should say is your Instagram. That's why we keep on mentioning it. We'll throw it up here. We'll have Earl throw up redneck hot wife, and we'll link to all that. But can you talk about what it means to be vulnerable as an artist? Because it's not you going out there and talking about this generally, right? It's everybody sees your images. So what does that mean to be vulnerable?
For myself, it's incredibly uncomfortable only because, I never saw myself as an artist before. It was just kind of like a hobby or something I thought about. I was more of like analyzing these ideas I had and talk to people who would be willing to talk about them. But when I entered the art scene, it feels like you're naked on display, and some people love that, and some people, the beauty of being a creative person is a lot of creative people are very open with their feelings. They're very, they'll cry at the things that move them, and and maybe that was part of the way I was raised, but I'm a very stoic person, and I don't show my feelings, and I am very just nose to the grindstone, and as great as that is, that's it's very jarring when you start showing artwork and it's tied to your name, and it's only you behind it. So if the artwork falls flat, it's like you fall flat as a person, and it's hard to separate yourself from the work because it's like your ideas, and it feels very individualized, and over the years I think that even having a public Instagram when I first started graduate school was very hard for me, because I was I'm a shit poster. I like to shit post, and but also
Same.
This is not my business. So I don't, it's
right.
And I had a few instances where, as an artist, people start making assumptions of you because of your online, whatever presented online becomes kind of they're starting off. And then I would meet people in person, and I would have some strange interactions, and I would take it so personally, because I was like, oh my God, what the hell? And now I think I've just developed hopefully a thicker skin that being vulnerable is the only way to make good art for myself. And if I need to have 2 steps removed, that I have a really separate private life. I don't live in New York City.
Right.
I can leave my studio and the art. I can be an anonymous person in the world, and that really helps me deal with the really, I'm making, as you said, sapphic paintings. 2 years ago, if you said that, I think I would be a lot more upset, because I'm I'm not trying to present that in that way, and I don't want to be perceived that way. But then it's maybe you're seeing something in myself I can't even see. You know what I'm saying? And sexuality to me.
Well, I think the best artists though are the ones who let their subconscious sort of take over, right? So you're just you have a vision for the paintings though, but I think at some point your hand is just off doing what it's going to do, right?
Oh, totally. And even with writing the press release, I got some weird pushback, because I use these ideas that aren't easy, right? Your people like paintings of Mennonite women.
Frenchie. Hold on.
They like paintings of people in traditional garb that they don't understand, but then you make paintings of people in normal clothes, but you talk about weird ideas within a religious community, and it's less palatable.
Sorry, he's gonna.
It's okay. Is the mailman here?
Someone's here. I have another question about representation. I did not know they had a location in Bucharest. So does this mean you're represented globally, like in Europe by them as well?
I'm not sure. I didn't.
Well, Sam, who loves contracts, I would ask about that because, I mean, that would be amazing, right? It's like one-stop shopping if you get represented in New York, LA, and then in Europe. I mean, that means you could have a presence in European art fairs.
Yes. Well, I think it really depends on what you're looking for. Maybe you only want a gallery to represent you in New York and LA and be open to other places. The gallery I work with is, I can say, for other artists. I don't know how other people go, but another nice part about them is like they like to, as long as you're like, professional about it, like if another gallery wants to work with you that you're not represented by, and they think it's a good idea for you. Yeah. Like if there's another gallery in Europe who's like, hey, let's do a show, it's not like the gallery would be like, absolutely not. They would just ask, who are these people? Who are else in the show? Yeah. So. Yeah, like I said, non-traditional way to the art world. I was pretty naive. Like I did not know people sold paintings as a living. Like I just didn't know that. I just, I was naive in that sense. So the first thing I needed to figure out for myself, grad school is a great time to workshop your ideas. And I never had a studio practice. So that was my first time having a studio, having a place dedicated. My only job was painting. I still had my full-time corporate job until I was able to stop doing that. So the first step was,
when did you quit that?
I quit that I think either my spring semester of grad school or maybe my second year of grad school. I was able to quit it just because I was able to focus on painting and afford to pay my rent and stuff. So I didn't do it until I felt set up. And what I did to set myself up was, I guess I figured out how to have a studio practice. I never had a painting practice, so I had to figure out how to like do that every day. And with the help of teachers. Did they provide me with what? Oh no, they provide a studio. Yeah. Yes, they do. Yeah, so grad school gives you a studio. I mean, it's like
You're breaking up a little, Topper.
it's a studio building with like 30, 40 studios in it. Everyone gets their own space. The painting department has their own building. Sculpture and all of them have their own separate building. You never share. Some grad school programs, they have you share, or like you don't get a big space. Like Yale, you have your own room with a door that closes. You don't share, like, I think in New York City it's probably a little bit different because rent space is so precious there. Yeah, so I set up my studio in the sense of like painting every day, figuring out how to make multiple paintings and what I wanted to say via painting, and trying new things. When I graduated graduate school, there was a studio building in New Haven that is very reasonably priced. So I was able to get a studio there and continue working. And I would say my strategy was, first and foremost, like learn what I care about, my convictions, and like how I wanted to translate that via painting. That was what grad school was for. But then also I wanted to educate myself on what the art world is and how it works as best as I could. So like trying to connect with people, emerging galleries, or galleries that work with emerging artists and go to art fairs and see how they operate. I was used to trade fairs when I worked my corporate job. So I was like, okay, now I want to see what a trade fair is for contemporary art, because that's what it is. Like, you want to say it's something more meaningful. It's not. That's fine. And I want
No, it's like a boat show for
yeah,
paintings.
yeah, and it's totally cool. And I just wanted to see, what's everyone's role? What's a dealer versus a gallery versus an advisor versus, um, all these titles. Like, there's all these different people, and how do you get your painting in a museum, and like, how do those things work? And so yeah, I just tried to do my research, and I think being very open to opportunities. I did things that maybe people in grad school turned their nose in because they thought they were above those opportunities, or working with galleries outside of New York and LA. I work with galleries in Texas, and that's how I got hooked up with RJ. So I think sometimes
Oh, Martha's, right. We love
I love
Martha's.
Martha's, and they have great taste.
In Austin, Texas. Shout out to them, Ricky and
I
Meredith.
always shout them out because they were so cool and open. And I think that if you're an artist and you have questions, you can always DM people too. Some people are more responsive than others, but like, I have people who ask me questions, and I'm happy to give any information I have gleaned from the situation. I don't have all the answers, but then, just stuff like that. So I just tried to strategize in that sense.
I actually didn't know that you did a show with Martha's, and then Bill or Aaron must have seen that and then approached you via that. Bill is the owner of Half Gallery, and Aaron is the director who kind of runs everything at Half Gallery. Aaron Goldberger and Bill Powers, and they'll be on at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I did a show with Martha's. It was super cool. And then I showed a painting with them in the Dallas Art Fair, and I wanted to go to Dallas because I wanted to show face and kind of figure out like, how do art fairs operate. And also, I love Texas, so let's go. And while I was in Dallas, I got to meet Erin, and I got to speak to Erin at a gallery dinner, and like, she and I connected about the Wildwood Beach in New Jersey, and us both going there as teenagers. So it was just like
she loves New Jersey.
She's a Jersey girl. Yeah, but anyways, I think that's not that I was intruding on anything, but showing up to events and like, just naturally like being curious about other people and what they do in the world. You'd be surprised how much you can glean from those connections. So
yeah,
that's what I got hooked up.
I sent you that article, The Painted Politics, from Harper. So I just want to touch this really briefly because we're so out of time, and I have to go to the supermarket to get more things for Thanksgiving. But after, that article I thought was fascinating, and we'll throw the link up to that too. But, after hearing you talk about your work for, the past hour or whatever, it does seem like you are painting from a personal experience, like from your identity, but the final product is really this kind of universal, experience, at least for those that would have some, interest in the apocalypse or religion or cults or anything like that. So you're taking you and your background, your identity, for lack of a better word, and I think this is what makes great art, and translating that into something that isn't just like a Sam Joy Groff, like, here's a self-portrait after self-portrait after self-portrait after self-portrait, right?
Yeah.
You're really talking about these universal themes, life and death and ecstasy and sexuality. But you're doing it, well, I guess talk about that, because these don't feel like identity paintings at all to me.
Yeah, I think the beauty, I would say to anyone, I think there is a fear of stepping outside of yourself right now because of the climate of the art world. Like, people feel safer making self-portraits. I get that. I'm not judging. It's just, my face is only so exciting so many times. But I will say that even when I started with the more traditional Mennonite paintings of my family and cousins and stuff, I would get so many interesting conversations with people who
You're really breaking up, Topper. He's frozen. Text me your question to my phone and I'll ask it. And you keep talking, Sam.
Yeah. So that being said, like, you know, I would talk to dealers or random people who ended up going to a super religious Jewish like preparatory school, and they had this very similar experience of feeling like a certain way, and my paintings evoked that for them. So I thought it was awesome because even though my experience was specific, there are people of other faiths and different generations being like, hey, you're touching on something. And so the only thing that I felt, and why I like that article, is when I was in grad school and I was doing a lot more with the traditional dress, I had a really awesome professor say, like, you know, at the end of the day, these are your people and you're going to have to answer to them. So you better be careful about how you're presenting them, because you know these people, but you also, there are some people you don't know and you're like speaking for them. And I was like, holy shit, you're right. But he was also like, you know, you don't have to give it all away. You don't have to show, like, not every symbol in your painting has to be the most obvious, like a working class symbol. Not everyone, no person in my painting is wearing Carhartt, but you can be assured that, you know, they're from people who actually would wear Carhartt, like their dads, like my dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need those cultural markers. They could be for you. They could be insider symbols. So when I got that feedback, I noticed that the paintings of my very strict Mennonite cousins, where I thought there was an emotional dynamic thing of like a coming of age of girlhood situation happening, it fell flat because people couldn't get past the religious uniform that they were wearing. And then I felt, you know what? Let me put this aside because it's not fair to them and it's also not conveying as much as I'd like. So then when I stepped back and did the more just the short shorts and the bikini tops and this kind of like rugged, sexy look, I liked it because it was like what I thought of when I thought of a rural girl, kind of like a little bit too much skin shown, but not naked, and like, you know, a ruggedness, and then putting it outside where your knees can get scraped. And like, so contextualizing faith and these big ideas in that sense, without kind of isolating the viewers who don't come from that background, allowed more people to have a true engagement with my work. There's some people who look at my work and only see some interesting romantic entanglements in the woods, and that is totally cool because that is just as much part of my practice as the interest in the faith and the questions of faith and all those things. So I think it just it like digests it, and it makes me think of I'm a big David Lynch fan, and David Lynch always talks about working from the personal and not the autobiographical. So like I am using very deeply personal things, and I am kind of putting it in a way that's a little bit more accessible to other people. So it's not like this is.
So this was Topper's question was, when you said you were hesitant to do identity portraits because of your own face, and you like, he wants you to elaborate, like, what does that mean for you?
No, not identity. No, I'm just like, I get sick of I mean, I could paint myself all the time, but I don't think that I think that you're limiting yourself. I think it's a bold move to think that if you just paint yourself, you're speaking for an entire community. If you're only painting your face, I think you are limiting yourself. I am painting, for example, this show, I'm painting single moms. I'm painting former addicts. I'm not a single mom or a former addict, but I am deeply connected to those communities. And those are communities that affect the working class rural female experience. So I think that if I did some sort of portrait to talk about addiction, there are so many faces of addiction. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I just think that I don't think that I am the only vessel. I think that I'm trying to have a pluralized, like the emotion in Fentanyl Jesus, where the woman holding the seemingly dead body, her emotion translated in paint is so earnest and authentic and completely not, I did not plan her to look that way. But I think that painting resonates with people a lot more because it's her, and it's her. She brought her personal experience in through her posing. in a deeply, deeply like moving way that I could never do with my own face. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And also I like looking at that paint, like I feel like I know that woman in some way, or I've seen her, or I've
Yeah.
like passed her by and probably not paid that much attention to her too. So there's something really nice how you elevate kind of the
I mean, to be
forgotten in some
fair,
way.
I'm going to shout her out. To be fair, she is getting her PhD from Columbia. So she is someone who overcame immense the odds stacked against her, and I think I've done
Yeah.
that too a little bit. So I think that yeah, you know, she's not like, and that's the thing. The beauty of painting so many different people is she has an amazing, crazy mullet and like a tattoo
That
here,
chest tattoo.
a great chest tat, and there's a great story between both those things. And then it's like, then I paint people with like, you know, her teeth are a little bit messed up, and there's a great story behind there. So I guess I'm trying to collect stories and visualize them for you in a way that like, um, if it was again just my face, I don't think there would be as much to say.
Topper has another question, which is a great one, I think, and it's about what's your ambition in the art world? Because you're represented, you've been a kind of quote unquote hot artist now for a few years, and you know markets will dip and stuff like that. You're chosen as Art in America, one to watch. You have a critics pick. So like, what's left? I mean, what do you want in 5 years, 10 years?
I feel like there's so much to go. It's really hard. I'm really trying to I'm kind of like, I guess it's like when you come from a scrappy way of living, it's like it's never enough, in the sense of like it's hard to appreciate the accomplishments when you see there's so much more to possibly tackle or whatever. So for me, I think you know, this show I really pushed myself in scale. Some of these paintings are huge.
Yeah.
I tried new color schemes. I think that RJ, you can speak to this as well. My technique has gotten much better since my last couple of years. Like I've really,
I mean, I liked your paintings before, but these are your skill level well, you keep on painting, right? So your skill level
I
has
also took
gotten.
classes. I made sure that I'm not the type of person who's ever satisfied. I felt that I needed more time. Like because I was an outsider, I didn't have a 4-year painting degree. So there's so many things I wanted to learn. I went to ateliers, you know, I took classes online. Like I really pushed myself to be a better painter. So in that same sense, I would like to be, of course, even a better painter. But I think I would like to, you know, I have certain themes that I'd like to work in, you know, snow. I really need to make snow paintings. It just has to snow.
I know,
Or I
yeah.
need to go to the snow. But I'd also like, I think you know, there's so many personal career things I'd love for. But it
A
would also,
museum show?
wouldn't that be amazing? Yes. I don't know how people get those, but I hope so.
Well, your
Like
gallery, that's the job of your gallery, right?
no,
They
no,
keep on
I'm
showing
saying,
you, they work. You'll
I
get
know,
one.
I'm saying that in like like how do people get those? Yes, I know.
Yeah.
But I think I'd also like to I I am curious. I've done painting now pretty strictly for the past 4 years, but you know, I started out as a video and film slash I made costumes. And it would be really interesting to compose my paintings with a more immersive into my film slash costuming. So like my show with Half in LA, I made the costume the girl was wearing in those featured in those paintings. But the costume itself was not exhibited with the work, which was totally fine because I think it needs to be really specific. But I'm like, even with this past show, I wanted to do some sound design and like video work that kind of created a more immersive feeling. Where the paintings stop, I wanted to continue building an even bigger world of my work. So that's what I'd like to do in the future.
Okay, and 2 more questions. We always sort of end with this one is like, what do you need from the art world? And because it's Thanksgiving, what are you thankful for? And I'm asking Topper that, and I'll say what I'm thankful for too. But what do you need from the art world as an artist?
Oh gosh. I've been really fortunate. I guess I don't know. Is this like from certain people or like I guess I'm not sure what.
Whatever. I don't know. Yeah. Just whatever the art world means to you. I mean, do you need? Someone said he wanted gallery representation. Someone said he just wanted to spend. He wanted to be able to quit his job and just be in the studio all day. Like that's what he would want. Like. I mean, you've got a lot of that, right?
Yeah. I'm very grateful for all that. And I think people should also be very wary of once it becomes your whole life, you need to figure out ways to, when you're painting 24/7 and then there's nothing else, it's a funny, like the flip of the coin. So yes, a museum show, if I wouldn't be too bold to ask, of course it'd be super cool.
No.
But, I think that there's something specific where I think that when you're working with a little bit of a more dangerous idea or like something a little bit more edgy, academia doesn't like to admit that you are part of the conversation. So I guess I would need a little bit more of a bravery, because I think there's like a fear or something around my work, and it could just be in my own head. But yeah, to be more like yeah.
And what are you thankful for? Just in general, nothing to do with art if you don't want to.
Everything. This conversation, my friends, my family, like my cats, the ability to have an art career, and also like the fact that people want to actually care what the fuck I say. That's awesome. Thank you.
Well, I've never talked to you this much. I mean, last time we talked, I was talking about being a poop donor. We've never talked this much about your art.
Very interesting.
I got denied just on my age. They never even asked for a sample, which I was really bummed about. But anyway, I guess I'm also thankful. This conversation, honestly, I have been floored by it. You are, not that I didn't think you were smart. It's not that, but how
calculated.
I guess like how no, I was going to say meticulous, like how meticulous you are about your life, your career, the subject matter, the way that you speak. I mean, I speak like a donkey 10 miles a minute, and you're very considered all the time. Well, and so I'm very thankful that we got to have this conversation.
Yeah, thank you. I think that also, I'm also trying to let go of some of that. I can be a control freak in the sense of when you want something very badly, and I'm like a dog with a bone in its mouth. Like, oh, you gave me an opportunity to be in the art world. Like, I'm going to wrestle it to the ground. And this year I've been very open and thankful and grateful to kind of step back and be like, I would be upset if they used the wrong image of my work that I didn't edit to this about me. If it's not edited the right way, I think my world's going to end. So I have been trying to like, let other people drive and trust timing. And so thank you for pointing that out, but I'm also trying to relax a little bit.
Well, you also seem relaxed and like you have fun, and your Topper's computer died, but he is thankful for family, health, jacuzzi, his dog, and all the things I'm struggling with because they make me who I am. And he's thankful for me and this podcast, which is very lovely. And he thanks you. And I thank you so much, Sam. This was really
RJ,
just awesome. Let's just keep on talking in general outside of the podcast and I would love to do a studio visit with you when you will have me.
Please, anytime. I need to come and do a retreat at your house. If you need me to clean, I want to come clean.
Yeah, please come clean. And anytime you want to come here, I have 5 bedrooms and there's a whole studio upstairs that you could be in. So if you want to see snow, come up here. It's supposed to snow tomorrow, actually.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous it's going to rain here. Yes, I'm at the point where I'm like, I will go to the snow. So we're going to make this happen.
Well, hopefully we're going to have a good winter because last year, I started skiing again last year for the first time in 30 years. And I hadn't skied since high school and it was incredible. So I'm looking forward to that again.
You can pull me on a toboggan behind you. I will not join you in the skiing, but
I will definitely we'll just meet in the lodge.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well,
thanks. When you click leave, it just might ask you to stay on for a few more minutes till it uploads.
Okay.
So just keep the window open, and then this will probably come out in like 3 weeks, so it'll be after the show. But we'll certainly direct people to the show page and all of that, and we'll send you all the links and stuff.
Just saw the one with Leslie. Started hearing hers, and it was really awesome.
Oh, Yes, that was, I mean, it's so exciting because, normally when I see people in an art context, it's at a dinner and we're trampling all over each other to get in words. So this is actually really nice to have these kind of in-depth conversations about collecting or people's practices or how to run a gallery or what. And, Topper, this was Topper's idea. I have to give him full credit. I don't even know how to use a podcast. I've never listened to a podcast. And his whole thing is he wants to become a collector and felt like an outsider and didn't know how to get in. And so he wanted to do this podcast so that we could reach all those folks that aren't in New York or in LA, and to kind of, knock the wind out of it a little bit, because I don't think, you didn't know how to go into a gallery. I was in social work before the art world. I don't think anybody even knows that you can just call up a gallery and say, what do you have for sale? I'd like to buy something, but then of course there's the price. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. But
there's I always explain it to people, like I was talking to my mom about this. It's very opaque. And for me, I struggle with, there's a lot of unspoken rules and etiquette and all these things that you can't simply Google, and there's conflicting information when you talk to different dealers or collectors about the correct way about going against stuff. And when you come from a background where you're like, if you do this, you get rewarded with this raise, or you get talked to this, there's like a clear structure. I think it's really cool that you guys are demystifying some of this stuff.
Trying to. And I think I have to say that you demanding contracts is something we haven't talked about. Most galleries don't do contracts. Like they might do a consignment, it's a Word document, right?
Yeah.
But I think artists lose work. Artists don't get paid. And there's a lot of blame to be spread. Money is tight in the art world at all times. But I think, you talking about contracts is something we haven't dealt with. And grad school does not teach any of that. Like we should grad school is about studio practice and nothing about the business of art. So
it's almost harmful to their students in my experience, they set people up to get taken advantage of when they say, just focus on your studio. Like that's what you're in grad school by, when there are people trying to poach them and like buy a bunch of their work without knowing like the idea of flipping work. Like if you're not educating people to be the next crop of artists to potentially be in the art world, you're almost setting them up for these situations where they're desperately trying to buy back their work. If there's some sort of situation, the contract, I think they should teach in school. I'd be happy to teach it. You can't always force people to put whatever they want in the contract. I'm just saying simply like having something written out, even in an email, is something where you can refer to it. That isn't a conversation. It's clearly stated to set you up. And like, for example, some things like my representation, the contract is more like a handshake, and that allows for certain freedoms. But knowing that you have options, I think sets you up for more success it's
a framework. It's a blueprint, right? It doesn't like you can I mean, the art world is nice in that it doesn't have to be so formalized, but it is certainly nice to have something. I mean, I talked to a lawyer once. He said, put it on a napkin, like anything. So that, because everybody deserves to get paid.
Yeah. And there's things too, like people should manage their expectations. Like, for example, if you write in something about a no resale after a certain amount of years, that doesn't really hold up. I think when I spoke to a lawyer about it, like you can write it in, but people ultimately can sell your work whenever they want. But it's like you can still ask for it. There's things like that. So anyways.
Yeah. And I think that's the great takeaway. Ask for it. But even if you don't get it, I think asking for it, that's the number one thing, because at the end of the day, you're going to feel better about yourself having asked for what you want and what you deserve, even if you don't get it.
Exactly. And also always
Sam Joy Groff, this has been a joy. You are a joy.
Miss you. I hope to see you soon.
I miss you too. But let's see each other. Come up here. I would love to. I'm not going to Miami. Are you?
Yes, I am.
I'm actually always thrilled to not go to Miami.
Yes. Well, to be fair, my very best friend, the one who encouraged me to go to grad school, she lives in Hialeah, which is the working class Cuban area. So I am going mostly on a vacation to hang out with her. And then
is she an artist? She is an artist.
She is, but she's more of like a.
What's her name?
Her name is Lauren Maranero. She's a Cuban indigenous artist from Miami. And she does very interesting, incredible video work about her father was a political prisoner under Fidel, and she has a
Wow.
lot of interesting insight. So I encourage you guys to check her out. Anyways, but also, like, just side note, like, I'm going because when you're an artist that doesn't live in New York, I do think there is a obligation to show face when there are events, and I think Miami
For sure.
is just to show face and say hello and see how people are doing, I think is my responsibility as an artist.
Do you have work there?
Yes, I'll have art in the main fair with Nicodeme, and it's a day painting.
That is.
It's a day painting. It's actually.
Can you send us an image of that too? Will you send me an image? That's also a big deal that you're going to be at Basel. That's the satellite fairs are great, but Basel is. Congratulations! That's so
honor.
Cool.
Yeah, I hope and it's I again tried to switch it up. I did a very tender mother-daughter painting. It's the same model that has the duck tattoo on her chest. It's her and her daughter. Yeah. And it's a little bit softer and different. So yeah.
Well, send me the image. I'd love to see it.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope you have a good Thanksgiving.
Hey, you too. Thank you so much for this, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Sam.